Hey, we're back. This is John.
Hey, it's Paul.
And it's Eric.
And it's What If Geeks. And we're back again with Falcon and Winter Soldier. Gonna review episode 2. God, I love this show.
This is what is this one? Star Spangled Man.
Star Spangled Man. Yeah.
So
not a slow burn the way WandaVision was. This is
no, it certainly isn't. And you know, I will get to it when we get to it, but it's definitely more in your face with sort of the contemporary social themes and stuff, right? Than Wanda was. It was a lot more subtle and.
This is definitely in your face.
They're just right to it. This episode in particular, it's like over the top patriotism, which is definitely, sort of a reference to a certain kind of, like a certain kind of person or whatever. And then there's a bunch of racism themes in this. There's actually a whole scene where it plays out like 4 different times or something in about 10 minutes, right? But then we got some hints towards maybe another Young Avengers storyline. We can talk about that. Another comic book character introduced, and a flash from the past, we'll say, old villain that might be coming back.
Yep. So another thing about this show too is something I wanted to say. My sister had asked me about it. She was like, how is it compared to WandaVision? And I told her, I said the best way I could describe it is it's way more MCU fan friendly than WandaVision started out. Yeah. Like you had to be like our level geek to be into WandaVision. Because like we said, Heather was kind of bored with it in the beginning. Even we were like, what the fuck's going on? But then we really got into it pretty quick. This is like you're stepping right back into the MCU. And
it's literally a continuation off of Endgame, right? Endgame. I mean, it starts where Endgame ends. I mean, I guess it's technically like 6 months later, but
yeah. But still, it's the closest thing to an immediate jumping off point from Endgame. So, yeah. All right, so where do we start? We start with John Walker getting prepped for an interview at his former high school, right?
And so...
Yeah.
I was just... There's a
couple write-ups, so you might as well do half the episode.
Yeah, sure, why not? So there's a couple little Easter egg things in here. So he pulls a sticker off one of the lockers, and right behind it is JW10, which is John Walker. But the 10 is actually a reference to his football number in high school, which you I think later see in the hallway or something. His jersey is hung up and framed. It's like it's all sort of part of the over the top patriot theming thing they're doing for John Walker, right? Like he's he's not a bad guy or anything, but it almost gives me vibes like from The Boys, Homelander, in some regards. Yeah. Just like too patriot. Some of it has to be fake, right? It's a little bit ridiculous. And then a girl walks in. Maybe I missed it, but is that supposed to be his girlfriend or something?
Yeah.
Did they
immediately I kind of laughed for a second because remember we were talking about last episode. We said how in the comics he was this very right-wing conservative kind of guy, and we were wondering how far they were going to lean on that. But his girlfriend is at the very least mixed. You couldn't really tell what ethnicity she was, but she looked like she might be mixed, right? So maybe they are still leaning that way because there's different hints within this episode that they are leaning that way. However, maybe not as bad. Like they're gonna make him not to be as much of an asshole as he was in the comics in the beginning.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. They're definitely borrowing themes I think we can talk about as we go along here. But one of the things this made me think about is in the comics, you don't know who he is at first. His identity isn't revealed to the public. It's kept a secret, right? And in this, he's immediately out there. Everybody knows who he is. Like I say, he's going back to his high school. They're doing some sort of little interview show thing. Now, so in the comics, when his identity eventually is revealed, people hate him, and somebody ends up murdering his parents. Right. And now I feel like they can't quite do that here. And I wonder if they're interjecting the girlfriend just to give, sort of a target that somebody could go after to get him riled up and sort of turn him more bad, more brutal.
Yeah, Probably.
It's just a guess because they're not doing it. They're not doing the comic book version clearly, but they're also leaning into a lot of themes from it. So
yeah.
So anyway, there's this interview going on. There's this really over the top freaking high school band. They got fireworks and shit in this ridiculous stadium. Like, what fucking high school is this, man? Like, these guys got like a $10 million endowment to build a fucking football stadium or what?
They got to be in Texas.
I was going to say, it felt like Texas. It's like the marching band from like Grambling or Florida A&M or,
he says he's from Georgia. I don't remember what town, Conyers or something, Georgia. Yeah. So that's where they have to be at. Can you? Yeah. Sorry, guys. Can you hold on a second? I don't know what the fuck the dogs are going on. Tirade.
The comic book character is definitely South Georgian.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Sorry. Yeah.
And that could be the marching band from like, tradition, historically black university in and around Atlanta, something like that.
Yeah, sure.
And something else with this over the top introduction and interview and whatever. If you remember, right before that, he's talking to his girlfriend, then she leaves, and then his friend walks in, and they talk for a minute, and he's like, he asked Walker how he feels, and Walker's like, I just want to do the job, So you can tell he's dedicated to trying to do or be the best Captain America he can be, whatever. He just wants to do the job. And he says that a few times in the episode. But the guy says, this is the job, right? Yeah. So the publicity thing is the job. And if you go back to Captain America First Avenger, that's what the job was with Steve, too, in the beginning. Before he ever went.
USO tour.
Yeah, he was on a USO tour for a while before, and he was a joke.
Yeah.
But so I think they're doing a lot of what they do within the MCU is where like they'll mirror a lot of things that happened before. And I think you're gonna probably see how he handles some of the shit differently than how Steve handled it.
Yeah, and an important note: the friend he's talking to is in a army outfit or whatever, but his name tag says Hoskins, which is of course Lamar Hoskins, who is John Walker's sidekick when he becomes what do they call him? U.S. agent.
Yep.
And that's going to also show up shortly in this episode anyway. So during the interview, there was a thing I was a little bit confused about, and I think I know where this is headed, but I just want to bring it up anyway. He says the interviewer makes this whole thing about how he's, they tested his endurance, his strength, blah, blah, blah. He was the best of the best of the best of the best, whatever. And
definitely a Men in Black thing.
Yeah. And then he makes a comment saying, well, I don't have the super strength of Hulk. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, he doesn't have the super strength? Like, I thought they were already leading it up like he had some kind of superhuman powers. But this...
No. We'll get into it again in another scene. But.
Well, we will, and it's worth. Well, at least I thought it was worth talking about right now because there's a comic book line where he isn't superpowered in the beginning. He makes a deal with the power broker company, goes through a procedure, gets super strength, and so does his friend who becomes Battlestar, and then they become two super soldiers in a sense, not super soldiers, but they have super strength anyway. So I think that hasn't happened here yet, and we get a power broker reference later in this episode. So it seems like it's probably heading down a path where he'll have to do something to be bigger, badder, better, right? I'm not going to ruin it yet. We'll just get to that part in a minute.
We can save the theory for the end.
Yeah. So they cut to Falcon and Winter Soldier in a hangar. Sam's getting ready to go track down the Flag Smashers. He says they're outside of Munich. I thought it was interesting here. They keep referring to Red Wing like it's like something sentient or like it's and in the comic it's an actual bird, right? It's a falcon, and here it's some sort of Iron Man-esque artificial intelligence drone thing, right? Which I just thought was funny how they did. I don't trust him,
Well, now, on the one hand, all right, so yes, in the comics it's a real bird, and it's revealed that Falcon has like a telepathic connection to the bird, right? what if here it is like Iron Man level? Because I mean, Iron Man helped him build that suit after they did the whole, Winter Soldier when he stole the wingsuit. He eventually gets an Avengers-esque Falcon suit. He's got Red Wing, whatever. If it's a high-tech level drone, but not quite on the level of Jarvis, Jarvis can think for itself. Why would Tony not put something in there, an AI in there that could at least somewhat think for itself?
Well, it must be able to, because Sam makes the comment to Bucky like, "Oh well, Red Wing tracked these guys down," and then Bucky's like,
right.
I don't trust Red Wing," or something to that effect.
Right. So it's definitely, like I said, it's not quite on the level of a Jarvis or a Vision or whatever, but it's up there. It can't. It's almost like R2D2. It's his R2D2. It can do what it wants, but yes.
Yeah. So Sam makes a comment while they're talking about he thinks this is probably one of the big three, and Bucky's like, "What the hell are you talking about? What's the big three?"
I loved this.
This was great. This is a great.
And he's like, "Androids, aliens, and wizards. We're always fighting one of the three."
That was so great.
And then they threw in this random who are you fighting, Gandalf or whatever the hell it was? And he was like, "I read The Hobbit when it originally came out in 1937. Like the whole thing was fucking weird as hell. And then so they're having this.
He's like, Gandalf? He's like, I read it he's like, you read The Hobbit? He's like, yeah, when it first came out.
Yeah.
There's no wizards. Is like Doctor Strange?
He's a sorcerer, not a wizard.
He's a sorcerer, not a wizard. And then Falcon says, a sorcerer is just a wizard without a hat.
Yeah.
So I really, and I know we're not at the Lethal Weapon 3 level of buddy cop yet. We're gonna get there by the end of the series. I just love the back and forth between these two already. Like
I was actually going to say that. I was thinking Bad Boys myself, but you're probably right. I mean, just the way that they're constantly back and forth, like they don't like each other, and that plays out even more when you get towards the end of this episode, and they have to do a little session together, and
it does. And like
it's done well though. I like how it is.
It's done so well, again, because you can tell the two of them are. And they touch on it here or in this episode where they're really only together because of Steve's legacy right now. They don't really like each other too much, whatever, but they were together because of Steve and because of the greater good, right? And that was that. So it's very what's the word I'm looking for? It's very relatable. You can just relate. Okay, two guys that don't like each other, but they're going to work together because they have to.
And one of the things that brings them together in this scene is as Falcon's walking down the thing, he sees those posters of Cap's back, right, of John Walker, and Bucky confronts him about the shield. He's like, "You never should have given it up."
Yeah.
And then they go through this back and forth about. He's like, "Don't you think that that was hard for me?" Blah blah blah, and so that's when they first start having this back and forth about. Why'd you give it up and all of that stuff, which plays out again later on.
Yeah.
But it's what gets it started. And the one thing I'm like, if Sam's not an Avenger, like if the Avengers aren't a thing right now, who's sending him on these missions?
Yeah, in a slightly later scene, after the flag smashing thing, when they're riding with Captain America in that little up-armored vehicle bullshit, Cap, the new Cap, says to him something about how they hacked into Red Wing or whatever. But he's like, "You hacked my tech," and it's like, "Well, technically, it's government property anyway." So it makes it seem like Sam is working for some government agency, but who the fuck is he working for, right? It's no shield or anything right now that he would be like. I mean, they're
restored, but they don't touch. They don't touch on it yet, and I'm sure at some point they'll probably mention it, but. It's obvious from the beginning that he is working with the government on some capacity because he's been with the military.
Right? Yeah, and he has to go back to DC, right, to do moon stuff.
Yeah. And he's taken what looks like C-130s, and it's not like he's booking private flights or whatever.
Right? Yeah, no, he's definitely got military backing, or government backing.
Yep.
So it could be. I mean, are the Avengers officially not a thing right now because they just don't say anything about the Avengers outside of.
Yeah, they just don't say.
Yeah, they just don't reference. They just reference like what happened with the fight with Thanos or whatever. Throughout these 2 series, they don't really say. But the Avengers got to still be a thing. You know what I mean?
No, because I'm going to get this wrong, but I think at the end of the Avengers Endgame, they decide that they're going to stop doing the team up stuff because Stark was dead, Rogers had left, so they were basically like disbanded at that point. There was like an after.
Anything?
I'm trying to remember. I don't know. That's why I said I'm going to get it wrong because I don't remember for sure that they like officially disbanded, but I feel like it was implied that that's what's happening with Rogers gone and Stark dead. There just wasn't going to be a team anymore until they needed another one.
Well, maybe not a team, but I mean, sure. So I guess those guys would basically like fall back to working for the government, and I mean that's where Sam started. Was he was a soldier.
But more to that point though, if you were on Team Cap in Civil War, you wouldn't want to like. You were either in Civil War, you were either going to go and be part of the Avengers and live under the Sokovian Accords, or you were on Team Cap and you were on the run.
Yeah, and then after the Thanos thing, remember there were a bunch of pardons. That's part of Bucky's thing.
Right, he got pardoned, but
Sam got pardoned too. And the only, I'm just thinking that like that hero mindset where okay, where can I do the best good, and working with the government is what Sam knows. So outside of the Avengers, so he'd fall back.
There's a point in this where they say. They tell the new Cap, you have to, go through regulations and a bunch of stuff, and we don't. So we're just going to go do it this way.
Yeah. I don't know. It's definitely a gray area, and I think maybe he can kind of still operate in a gray area. But he's kind of like if the government calls in a specialist because he's got the suit and everything, so they needed him for certain missions, so they call him in.
Yeah. Maybe
I don't know.
Okay. Anyway.
Maybe they'll explain it, but maybe we're just like going down a rabbit hole for no reason, like we normally do.
Possible, yeah.
Captain Tangent away.
Yeah, I just watched the last few minutes of Endgame, and it doesn't appear that they make any direct reference to what happens to the Avengers at the end.
Okay.
Sorry,
I think they're still a thing, but they're doing their own thing. Kind of like at the end of the original Avengers when they're asking Nick Fury, like, you just let them leave, and he's like, they earned it, kind of thing, So they all just kind of do their own thing,
Yeah.
Bucky's in therapy, Falcon's working with the military, and WandaVision's enslaving towns.
Yeah, I mean, if there's no big bad, what do you need to do, right? You gotta have a reason to reassemble the team. So,
yeah,
just like,
or maybe assemble a whole new team. We'll see where this goes.
Oh, yeah,
there's a band that isn't on tour right now, right? So everybody gets to go do their own thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So anyway, Bucky and Sam are off to Munich to find the Flag Smashers. So there's a C-130 or whatever the hell it is that they're flying in. There's a little bit of back and forth, and Falcon refers to the Winter Soldier as Bucky, and he's like, "You can't call me that." And he's like, "Why not? Cap called you that." Because we were better friends, and because he had a plan. It's just more of the back and forth banter between them. So Falcon says, "Yeah, I got a plan, whatever," and he jumps, and then Bucky asks about where the chute is to the guy in the back of the plane. He's like, "You can't jump from here. There's, we're 400 feet off the ground or whatever." And he's like, "Yeah, whatever." And of course he has to like rip the sleeve off. I understand they do it for effect, right? To remind you.
Doesn't work if it's.
Yeah, right. I think they do it to remind people, or maybe people that don't remember or don't even know that he's got like a crazy cybernetic arm before he makes this jump. but it's almost not needed because he's a super soldier already. So,
Is he? Is Bucky a super soldier?
He's not a super soldier?
I don't know. I didn't think so. I just looked in the Wikipedia for Winter Soldier, and it says he's not. I thought he was. I thought
I thought he was given the serum just like Rogers.
I thought he was given some kind of serum as he was the Winter Soldier.
He has to be, because he says later in this episode to Isaiah that they met in 1951 or something. Mm-hmm. And then he said that he read The Hobbit when it originally came out.
Yeah.
So if he's not a super soldier, he is aging at a stupid slow rate.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
Well, if you remember, what they said in the initial Winter Soldier movie was that they kept shoving him into cryogenic slumber in between missions, which at the time, that's the only explanation they gave for his slower aging. But basically he would just not age while he was in there, and then he would age for a few days and go back in there.
Oh, you know what? I forgot about that. When he goes to Wakanda, he's also frozen for a while until T'Challa can figure out how to
unbrainwash him.
Yeah, whatever. Undo whatever's wrong with him.
Because I guess we'll talk about this in a minute when he fights the Flag Smashers, but he kind of gets his ass handed to him.
You know what? I'm 100% sure he's a super soldier, because you just reminded me when the Flag Smashers are driving away on the semi-trucks, he literally runs on the highway and catches the semi-trucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere in there they put something, but I bet it was like a Soviet version of the super soldier serum or something, because he did. Obviously, we know he didn't get it when Cap got it, and then he shows back up as the Winter Soldier. So somewhere,
but when he shows up as Winter Soldier, and maybe it's the arm, because he can grab the shield that Cap throws with his arm, and then he throws it so hard that it knocks Cap back so far, and that could be the strength of the arm, but it could be it's either a writing device or he's not a super soldier, because the Flag Smashers, that girl whips his ass.
They do.
So yeah, I'm reading the MCU wiki just so we can settle this quickly. He did get a version of the serum from Hydra. It did not leave him with nearly as potent powers as Captain America, but was potent enough to give him some super strength and super speed and stuff. But so that's where it's at.
Okay.
So he's like half a super soldier or something. So
the Flag Smashers probably got a bigger boost of it, which explains why they whip his ass. But okay, all right, I can buy off on that, because I don't remember them mentioning that before. But there are kind of plot holes in there where at some points it seems like it's only his arm that gives him strength, and other times there are moments where you're like, how the fuck did he do that? So okay, all right, semi super soldier serum.
Just as a comparison, if you ever watched Star Trek: The Next Generation, anytime they had an alien on and they wanted to demonstrate how strong he was, that alien went and kicked Worf's ass.
Yeah.
That's how you knew. That was the device. It's if that thing could knock out Worf, it was like, oh my gosh, that thing's strong.
So
Bucky is Worf, okay.
Yeah. So so he jumps out of the plane, tries to use his arm to break his fall through a tree. It does not work. He hits the ground, and Red Wing's right there to record him, and Sam's laughing at him. Again, just playing out that sort of good cop, buddy cop thing that you were talking about earlier. It goes through the whole episode, but
that's where I first was trying to figure out the whole super soldier thing, because I didn't remember anything before that. That was obvious that he was a super soldier, but falling out of that fucking plane, no matter how much he tried to break his fall, should have killed his ass. So okay, yeah, all right, that makes more sense.
So they go to some abandoned warehouse. They're peeking around. There's a little bit of an exchange here about his time in Wakanda, and Sam says something to him like, "Oh, what are you, the White Panther?" And he's like, "No, it's the White Wolf." And Sam's like, fuck are you talking about? And they don't explain it at all. But I think John said before we got on here that they had mentioned that name in one of the previous movies. I don't. Maybe it was.
It was at the end of Civil War or whatever when. Either when they first bring him to Wakanda, or after. No, it's after he's been there. So I think it was in Infinity War, because he had been there.
Yeah, Infinity War. That makes sense.
They show him
Shuri refers to him as the White Wolf because all the kids are in there talking to him, whatever, messing with him.
Yeah.
And she says something about the White Wolf.
So in the comics, it's clearly a completely different person. The White Wolf is like Chaka's adopted brother or something, and there's a whole different storyline that plays out. He ends up becoming a bad guy because he wants to take over the Black Panther persona and can't. I don't remember the whole storyline, but they're making the reference here, but it's clearly not the same person, and it's not got anything to do with the.
No, and when they made it
story.
in the other movie, I thought it was a nice nod to an established Marvel Comics character, but a unique take where, because I said back then that maybe after everything was all said and done, if Wakanda needed somebody to come help, Bucky would be the first one to go because that's where he found peace. So taking on the moniker of the White Wolf would kind of lead toward that, that theory. So so him actually saying it here said, yes, it shows like, he holds Wakanda close because of the peace that he found there.
So they do finally
play later I hope that comes into play later in the MCU where he will cameo in like maybe Black Panther 2 or something.
That's going to be super weird now. Who knows where that's going.
But if they need somebody to come help, he should be the first person to run and go help. All right.
So they do catch up with the Flag Smasher crew in this warehouse. It's clear they're watching from the behind a shelf or something, and then it's clear that all these guys have super strength. Like two of them are
behind a fucking IKEA shelf.
Yeah. Two of them are lifting up like multi-1,000-pound pallets of tanks of I don't even know what the hell it is, but cryogenic freezing material. Yeah, who knows? So it's clear that they got super strength at least, and Red Wing sees that there's another body like inside one of the trucks, which they assume is a hostage. And so as the trucks drive off, they both start chasing after. This is where I'm sure Bucky has to be a super soldier because those trucks are like on the freaking road driving whatever it is, 30 miles an hour. And he's outrunning them and jumps on the back of the first one that the hostage is in. And so he tears the back open. The woman's back there who I think is Flag Smasher. Am I not?
So her name is like Carly something. And
it's in here. Hang on.
Flag Smasher.
Yeah, it's Carly Morgenthau is the Carly Morgenthau is the name, which is a comic book. What do they call that?
Carl Morgenthau.
Yeah, they changed the name to be a girl name and made the character a girl. So, but it's not actually the exact same character. But there's
right. So she's
the leader of the Flag Smasher.
The leader of the Flag Smasher. So they basically took the Flag Smasher character, made it a whole group, and then took his name and gave it to the leader as a girl. Which again was nice.
And that woman. I should stop saying girl, but that woman is also the one that plays the bad guy in Solo: A Star Wars Story.
Oh yeah,
is that right?
Yeah, that's her. That's definitely her.
I didn't put that together.
All right. Well,
the one that plays Infus with the crazy big helmets.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Because there's that scene where she takes off her helmet and it reveals it's a chick and she got all the freckles. That's definitely her, 100%.
Yes, you're right. Yeah. Now, in your defense, though, I mean, she looks like she's at most like 17.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, like she's young looking, so she's got good genetics. But yeah, she's a woman leading this rebellion or this army, right? And but when he first jumps back there, it's because he thinks she's a hostage.
Yeah,
that's the hostage they see back there. So he jumps back there, and she doesn't say anything at first.
Yeah, she's sort of playing dumb.
He's like, I'm here to help you. And she smiles at him. And then you see him flying out the back of the fucking truck. And crashes into a car, or I forget.
Yeah. What? No, that's not this part yet. Yeah, into the other truck.
He immediately kicks him out, and he crashes into the other truck. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Which went to what you said in the write-up and then deleted, because I said it in my head, was when he ran up into the first truck, why didn't the second truck, who's clearly like not even a car length behind them, sound an alarm, do anything, right? Because it was all part of the plan.
Yeah.
And they knew they were there, so they were going to fuck them up. But yeah, because I immediately said it while I was watching the episode. I was like, why the fuck isn't that second truck doing anything? And then she kicked his ass out of the truck, and I said, never mind.
Yeah, so she kicks his ass out. He hits the windshield of the truck behind him, but catches with his arm or something. And then somehow there's super soldiers on top of the semi truck, and they fucking yank him up. And then she dons her flag smasher mask, and then the battle ensues, I guess. But Falcon and Bucky are pretty much getting their ass kicked by these guys.
Yep.
And then
out of nowhere, a shield comes flying in and smacks one of them as they're getting ready to fuck one of the guys up. The shield comes flying in, and here comes Cap and his partner, or the new Cap and his partner, which I was very pleasantly surprised at this. The way they cut the trailer, you had no idea that this part was going to happen.
Right.
So I was like, this was cool. You know, like to have Cap join in this early, I was like, I didn't see that part coming. And usually, like when we do this podcast, we can kind of call most of the shit that's going to happen. I had no idea that was going to happen. I was like, wow, that was cool. You know, so here comes Cap and Battlestar, or well, I guess he'll say that later, but whatever. Yeah,
I think it says later, but the way they intro is like so hilarious because it's like, you know, Cap jumps in and then the other guy comes in like helicopter rappelling or whatever, and they like fucking fist bump or some shit as they pop in, and it's almost like an old cartoon or something, like, here's Captain America and Battlestar. Yeah.
It's like a commercial for their action figures, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And the two kids are like, yeah.
I expected two giant 7-year-olds to be standing behind.
Yeah.
But it's pretty funny. I think they did that. Well, I'm sure they did on purpose, but you know, they're just trying to like really play into the fact that these guys are like overinflated, you know, every man superhero kind of thing. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, it also definitely talks to the fact that like I don't know if they fell into the roles, but it's like it's definitely they're over eager to do the superhero thing, you know. So it's just kind of like it shows immediately, and then they kind of start getting their asses kicked too.
Yeah, pretty much everybody. There is a moment, though. I think John, you pointed this out, where the new Cap. I'm not calling him Captain America. We'll just call him U.S. Agent or something. He throws the shield, hits a guy, and as it's bouncing back, Bucky catches it with not his super hand, but the other one.
Yeah, because this is when we were discussing whether or not U.S. Agent. Let's call him new Cap. Whatever. Walker has.
Yeah, Walker, that's a good one.
Yeah, if Walker's got super soldier serum, and it's obvious he doesn't because Bucky catches it with his human hand, where when Steve would throw the shield at him, he had to catch it with that cybernetic arm, otherwise it would fuck him up.
Yeah. So you're right. They basically all get their ass kicked. Bucky gets knocked off the side of the thing, and he's sort of hanging on for dear life. Falcon gets kicked off and flies away, and then he comes back and saves Bucky, I guess. And then Battlestar. What happens to Battlestar? He gets dragged off to the front.
He gets kicked off the truck. And
that's right.
Throws the shield down so it catches him and slides.
That's
him
right. Yeah. And
then, which is really cool.
It was kind of a cool move.
It was a cool move.
And then and then this part annoyed me because almost right after that, new Cap Walker gets kicked off the truck and he hits like right into the windshield of a car. Okay. So several problems here that bothered the fuck out of me. One, the other guy was just in the fucking road on a shield. Why the hell did the car just keep on driving when there's like a dude in the middle? Second, if you see a bunch of fucking people fighting on top of two semi-trucks side by side in a road that is not one way, why the hell are you going to be driving like 5 feet behind them? Like, what the fuck is wrong with this car?
Just go ahead and stop.
I've got the answer.
Uh-oh.
We live in Florida.
There's a Florida man in Munich.
Got to be a Florida man right behind him. It's got to be.
He's probably cursing at the guy on the road too. He's a fucking asshole and a shield in the middle of the road.
yeah. It's raining black guys on shield. What's going on?
So that's pretty much the end of that. Oh no! You know what? I forgot a part here that might be important. In the comics, the Walker, the U.S. agent, is actually really brutal compared to Cap. Like he'll kill people, he'll do dirty things. You know, he's not the patriot. Now they haven't really done much in this episode to show that, except there's a point in this where he, I think, grabs a gun from one of the super soldiers, one of the flag smashers, and he actually turns around and shoots one of them with it. Like, you've never seen Cap shoot anybody with a gun. That doesn't happen.
Yes, you have.
Oh, you have?
In Captain America: First Avenger, he's got a gun.
Oh.
Yeah. But since then, and that was an actual war, he doesn't do it. Like, Cap doesn't carry a gun. The real Cap doesn't carry a gun. I think this Cap does carry a gun. Like, I think
does he carry one?
I think so.
Yeah, maybe you're right. I don't know. Maybe he didn't even take that from a super soldier. Maybe he had it on him.
No, this Cap carries a gun. So,
yeah.
And the way they filmed it, they definitely emphasized the fact that he's pulling a gun and shooting at somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So, and he shoots to kill. I mean, he wounds this guy pretty good.
Yeah.
Then they immediately, decide to tend to their wounded and get the fuck out of there. But yeah, I think that definitely, again, like we said, he's a little more aggressive and he's more of a soldier. I mean, not that Cap was not a soldier. I mean, he was, but
yeah, we'll see how hard they play into it. It could be that they wait until he's got the whatever makes him super powered, and at that point he gets super angry or something and starts getting really aggressive and using shitty tactics. But even now, it feels different. It feels different the way he fights. I guess maybe he's not super powered, so what choice does he have? But
right, yeah, he's evening the odds. That's all.
Yeah. So after this, they cut to the flag smasher safe house. You see all these guys getting let in. Carly, the leader, gets a text message, and it just says, private number or something on it. And it's the text is, "You took what was mine. I'm going to find you and kill you." So again, probably a reference to the power broker. Maybe she stole super serum from him and gave it to these other guys, or whatever they have. It may not be super serum, but something.
It could be that, and I'd go on that theory now until we learn more because it's still early. But I would say, what if, even if the power broker gave them that power in an agreement that they'd work for him, and then they were out doing their own thing, or they stole it and used it on themselves?
Yeah, or it may have been intended for her only, and she stole a bunch and gave it to the other guys that were going to help her, sort of do her righteous thing that they're trying to do.
Yeah,
so
I'd run with any one of those three theories for now.
Yeah. I mean, this scene is clearly intended to sort of set up the flag smashers as having a... Oh, yeah. So in the MCU versus the comic villains are often just bad, and they just don't have a reason to be bad. They're just bad guys. In the MCU, they've taken the time with most of the villains to give them a reason to be bad, so that they're not just bad for no reason at all. Something terrible happens to them, or they've been wronged by a good guy at some point, or it isn't always super sensical, but at least they've got a reason, right? And I think,
in the words of Zangief, just because you're a bad guy doesn't mean you're a bad guy.
Yeah. But so anyway, the point of this scene is to just give the flag smashers a purpose, and what it is that apparently bad people have taken over after the blip was reversed or whatever, right? And so they make a mention of the GRC and saying they care more about the people that came back than the ones that never left. And that's a reference to the Global Repatriation Council, which was supposed to be the entity that helped all the refugees as they were, or the people that got brought back from the blip, reintegrate into the world. And they apparently failed badly at it. And we get some hints of that in this episode when like Falcon's trying to get a loan and he can't. I was like, the GRC is there for that purpose, to like help people sort of reintegrate and get back, and they can't do anything for them. And that of course also plays into some racist themes that are about to happen in this. But so anyway, so they give flag smashers a purpose, right? They're not completely evil. They're just trying to put things back sort of the way it was right after the blip. Yeah. Maybe not get rid of people, but make the world right so things are fair. So Bucky and Sam get back on a plane. They're heading back to the U.S. And Bucky mentions to him, something about another lead. I don't remember exactly what the words he said are, but something about another lead or somebody they could go see. And so they're off.
He says there's somebody you got to meet.
Yeah. So they're off into a sort of a poor black neighborhood. They're walking down the street. A little kid sees Falcon as they're walking. He's like, "Oh, it's the Black Falcon." And he's like, "Black Falcon? What is it? Because I'm black?"
Falcon.
Yeah.
Dad said Black Falcon, which is a nod to like back in the '60s when every black superhero was Black Lightning, Black Panther, Black whatever, Black Goliath. Like they were all black whatever.
Yeah, and he's like, "What?" He's like, "What are you, the Black Kid?"
Except Black Widow.
Oh yeah,
except Black Widow. She's very white.
So this is the start. There's a lot of racist themes just in this one scene. There's like these sort of racism things that keep playing out. This whole thing. So I'll hit them as we go.
Kind of nods to like what we said about Disney. Is kind of
like
the lead in that.
Yeah. So they go up to the house, knock on the door. This random kid answers. We don't know who it is at this point, but he asks for Isaiah. And kid's like, nobody by that name lives here. And eventually tells him, I just want to talk to him. Come on. And they go in there. So it's Isaiah Bradley. It's the Black Captain America, basically.
Yeah. Bucky tells him, gives the kid some type of code.
He says, this is the guy that in Korea,
or whatever the hell it was.
No, he gives him a Korean town name.
Gong Yang, I think is what he said. Gong Yang, something like that. Yeah.
So we would know it was him, and that's what lets him in.
Yeah, so Isaiah tells him let him in, and he meets him, and basically he's like, I got nothing to say to you. He's like, I just wanted to see you. Basically he's like, you still got the arm. Or he said, I see you grew back the arm.
Yeah.
So he talks about how he fought Bucky.
Whooped his ass, I believe is what he said.
He said he whooped his ass and ripped his arm in half. So they replaced it. But
and so what you come to find out, right, is that they had sent Isaiah and some guys to go find the Winter Soldier in the Korean War.
Yeah.
And then a fight ensues, obviously, and Bradley held his own, and then they allude to, and Isaiah says that they had given him the super soldier serum. I don't know if it's the same version, right? Because the doctor that creates it gets killed.
Yeah, it's as close as they can come to it. And basically what happens is like, what?
Is they're trying to mimic the formula, and so they need subjects. And so they obviously used soldiers, and then they must have used black soldiers at some point, like some of the tests with either syphilis or some of the other things they knowingly injected into black men in the 20s and 30s.
Yeah.
Yep. Definitely another reference here. And I think at some point in this conversation, Isaiah says, what he got out of this was basically prison time and being experimented on.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they locked him away to hide what they did. Basically, and I forgot this part of the comic because it was a really good comic. It was, like Captain America, Truth, Red, White, and Black. And
I had to go back and look it up.
Yeah, it was. They experimented on him to make him the new Captain America after Steve fell on the ice. And when I was talking to Heather about it, 'cause she was asking, she's like, when was he Captain America? I forgot reading the comic, and I was like, no, he was like the first one, and but it got all jumbled in my head, you know. So I was like, no, so I got to go back and tell her, no, this is how it happened. So yeah, he was experimented on after Steve, so that somebody else could be Captain America, and then went on some missions, and then they locked him away to hide what they did. Really, is basically what they did. The government fucked him.
And if I remember in the comics, he, like, the super soldier serum made him overly brutal, which is why they couldn't have him be Captain America.
Yeah, which kind of along the same lines as John Walker later on, but yeah.
I mean, they maybe sort of allude to that here, but it's hard to know if he's legitimately just angry. But I mean, he gets mad, and during the conversation, and he's like, "Fuck you, get out, I'm done." And he grabs something on the table, throws it through the wall. You know, it's sort of like
an ashtray, so you can tell he's got super soldier powers.
Yeah, well, that was. I think that was mainly done to let Falcon know. I mean, done by the director, so that Falcon would know, oh shit, he really is a super soldier too.
Right,
you know?
right.
And so he basically tosses him out. Quick question here, though. If that's Isaiah Bradley, who's the kid that answered the door?
Right.
Eli Bradley.
Yeah, that's what I would think too. So Isaiah Bradley's grandson, for anybody that doesn't know, is Eli Bradley, who becomes the Patriot in the Young Avengers. And so...
Yeah, and we are quickly... Or quickly firing on all cylinders for a Young Avengers movie.
Yeah, so if we track this, right, we had this is going to be a tangent. Sorry for those that don't hear it. But, quick one. Eli Bradley as the Patriot. Okay, that's one. We had Wiccan and Speed in WandaVision. So that's 2, 3. We know Miss America has been cast for Multiverse of Madness, so that's 4. Now we have Hawkeye series and Loki series coming up. So 2 of the Young Avengers are the female version of the Hawkeye. I forgot what the heck her name was.
Kate Bishop.
Kate Bishop. Thank you. And then Kid Loki, right? And then the last one is not the last one, but another one that we've seen is Stature, who is already introduced to us in the second Ant-Man movie. Yep. She's is it Endgame? Yeah, in the first Ant-Man movie, she's introduced as a child, and then in Endgame, you see her as a teenager, right?
Yep.
I think that's how it is.
Yeah.
So anyway, so you're moving your way towards that too. So we've got a full-on team here. We've got 7. Is that 7? I think that's 7 of the Young Avengers have been introduced in one way or another or alluded to.
And I did just see an announcement, whether or not it was true, that they just cast somebody as Riri Williams for Ironheart.
Oh, I didn't see that.
So they can add her into that if they decide to go that route.
Yep, and there could be, isn't there? There's a She-Hulk thing coming up too, right? Because Hulkling was one of the Young Avengers. Maybe they could do a tie-in with that. Who knows? I feel like this episode, this series could be sort of like a precursor. I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but like a foreshadowing of what's coming, which is there's a Captain America hands off the shield to Falcon, right? And we're having a whole struggle going on in this episode, right? But it seems like they might be building up for a bigger shield handoff, which is old Avengers to Young Avengers.
Right.
And that could play off across the whole phase now and show up in the next phase of MCU.
Yeah, I'd say like 2022, 2023, they do a Young Avengers movie. Yeah, I could definitely see it happening.
You heard it here first.
And if they don't do a movie, it would be
all 20 of you heard it here first.
This would be a cool series on Disney Plus.
Yeah. Sure. So they leave the house. So we're getting pretty far behind here. So they leave the house. They're walking down the street. They start having a little tussle. Not physical. They're just yelling at each other in the street. Fucking cops show up. And
well, again, Bucky's like, "Wait, you're telling me there was a black super soldier? Why did I know this?"
Oh yeah.
And basically, Bucky just tells him like, Steve knew, and nobody said anything. Or did he say Steve knew, or Steve didn't?
No, he said he didn't tell Steve.
Yes.
He said he never
didn't
told
tell
Steve.
He didn't tell anybody because he wanted to protect Isaiah.
Yeah.
Because he's like, he's been through enough. That's it. So, which is honorable on the one hand, but on the other hand, which is what goes back to the comics, and I know we're over, but in the comics, there's a whole lot to do with this guy who was a hero for his country got no recognition and got screwed.
Right.
So and it's kind of the same way they're doing it here, which is kind of cool. So I hope they do something further with him later on down the line.
Well, it could be that Sam gets him, gets him some recognition, gets the prison time erased, something like that.
Yeah, pardoned and gets it. Yeah,
right.
Hopefully.
Yep. So they play out a bunch more of the racism themes in this before they end it. So police show up. They're giving Falcon a hard time about what's he doing to this guy, and
to the Falcon.
Yeah, exactly. And they're totally cool with Bucky. They're not saying shit to him, even though they're both yelling at each other. But and they do the whole like.
I roll my eyes at that point.
I know it was a little heavy-handed for sure, and it probably only got worse in the heavy-handed department because after all this, and then Bucky, the white guy, finally says, "Hey, do you know who you're talking to?" And they're like, "Oh shit, my bad, sorry, man," whatever. And then they go back to
one of the cops is like, "Hey, they're Avengers."
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of them goes back to the car and apparently lickety split in a flash looks up Bucky or something and finds out he has a warrant. But then when he comes back, he's not yelling at him. He's not assault. He's like, "Oh, hey man, there's a warrant out. Sorry about this. Would you mind coming with us? Sorry about the inconvenience." They let him walk himself into the car. Yeah. They're just kind of like really playing it up, like how different, people of two different skin colors would be treated.
Yeah. And, how they were about to treat.
I always have with everything Disney does with any kind of social justice shit, right up to the women getting it done in the end game. They can't help themselves. Like they fall over themselves to make sure that you know what they're doing.
Yeah, well, I think it was obvious to me. In the first few minutes of this scene that they were heading down that path. I just didn't know how far they would go, and they really just lay it on. It's like they dedicated this. Hey, listen, we got this scene. It's 10 minutes long. How many references can we get in here?
Right.
That's kind of what it felt like,
Yeah, and that's the part that really gets to me because you've got where you have these series or these movies and all this shit that we watch that we love that they do so well, and then they go and they get like really heavy-handed with a message. And how many times we complain about stop trying to shove a message down my throat. You could have done this scene, still had the same message get across, and not punch me in the face with it 17 times in 10 minutes.
Yeah, and they could have spread it out a bit more and try. Yeah. It just felt heavy because it was really a short scene, and they're just like doom, 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 doom. In this neighborhood, everything's shitty if you're not the right skin color,
Yeah.
So anyway, it's not like it ruined it. I get what they're going for. It just felt like a lot, but so. I think we cut back to the police station next, and New Cap Walker has instructed or convinced or whatever it is the police to let Bucky go. His warrant was apparently for not doing the court mandated psychology sessions or something
because he went to Munich.
Yeah, because he went to Munich. So anyway, Bucky gets out. The psychiatrist lady or whatever the hell she is right there, and she's like, "Session time now, both of you. You got to come to Falcon." And so they go do this.
Yeah, Cap's like, "I'll be here waiting."
Yeah, and they go do this great. This was really the sort of culmination of the buddy cop thing. Was the two of them like having to have a conversation where like she's forcing it, and she's like, face each other, get closer, and then their like knees are touching, closer, and they got like spread their legs and put the thing. It's like, is that close enough? Fine, And so then they have their little heart to heart, which is a total buddy cop movie thing, right? They've been bantering the whole time, and now, they are actually somewhat, connected, and they got to have a real conversation. And I think the main thing that comes out of this and the main point of this is to give you sort of Bucky's view of himself, right? And that plays through basically
both. It's both, because Sam says,
well, yeah, that's true.
something that you and Cap didn't understand was that I'm not you.
Right.
For someone like me to try to step up and do this, it's not. He didn't feel it was his place.
Yeah.
And
they both have inferiority complexes a little bit, right? Like Sam, while he's got this cool suit, he's not strong like Cap. He's not strong like Bucky. He doesn't have the right. So he feels like he's not even as strong as Bucky and as worthy as Bucky would have been to take the shield. He didn't feel like he could live up to Cap. So,
which is also a nice nod to the comics, because the first one to take the shield after Cap died was Bucky, and then it went to Sam later on in another series. So, yeah, it was a nice little like segue into how they did things. So he tells him, "Look, yeah, it's just you and Cap didn't understand. You and Steve didn't understand that it wasn't you, it was me."
Yeah,
and that's when Bucky counters with, "If Steve was wrong about you, then he could have been wrong about me," meaning his redemption and everything else. And that was a really cool moment. Like, I was like, oh, okay, you really get a lot of insight in like this 2-minute and 3-inch scene. But yeah, it's a lot of insight into the two characters and why they kind of have animosity toward each other, but are working together, like we said before, because of their love for Cap and their respect.
Yeah, well, and ultimately have the same motivations.
Yes.
Maybe different takes on it, but it was really all about living up to the Cap expectation, maybe, or the one that they set in their own minds. I'm sure it's not Cap's real expectation, but
right. Yeah, because Cap would never have expected anything because that's Cap. Mm-hmm. But they hold him in such high regard that they feel they can't live up to him.
Yep.
So okay.
So then they cut back to Slovakia. It is Slovakia, right? Isn't that the place they go to? It doesn't matter. Wherever the flag smashers are, they've got some sort of force. I don't know if it's the police or some sort of international agency or something, but hot on their tail, chasing them, several cars, guys with machine guns, and one of the flag smashers, and there's only 8, I think they established. There's only 8 of them, right? Yeah. One of them stays behind and he tells the leader, you go, whatever, I got you. And he stays behind, I think knowing he's going to die. But to let the others get out of there. So, the way he goes about it's kind of ridiculous. I mean, he pushes over electric pole or whatever, and then just charges at cops with a bunch of machine guns or whatever the hell they are. But,
they're not cops. Those are the power brokers.
Oh, those are the power brokers.
Men. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes actually a lot more sense. I should have realized that. But in any case, he just charges at him and gets shot down. He didn't have a single chance. I'm not sure why he went with that route, but that's fine. It is what it is. And the rest of them get away.
Well, the serum doesn't give you super smarts.
Yeah, I guess. So after that, we get cut back to Bucky and Sam again. They're not really sure where to go. Bucky is sort of making references to, hey, we got to go talk to that guy, blah, blah, blah. And Sam realizes where he's going with it. And so he finally says, I think by the end of that little exchange that, okay, let's go talk to Zemo. And so.
Because Sam says, you sure you really want to go sit down with him? Because remember, Zemo is the one that started bringing back the brainwashing in Bucky. Yeah. So, he's like, you really want to go talk to him? And Bucky's like, yeah, I'm good. And he goes, okay, let's go talk to Zemo. And then cut to the Russian prison or where the fuck we're at. And it zooms all the way into the cell. And there's Zemo sitting there. You get a close-up of a side profile of his face. And then we cut to black.
I think it's Germany, actually. I don't know exactly how it says on the screen Zell, which is German for cell.
Okay,
whatever it is, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I trust your German better than.
But that it could be in another language too that just happens to be similar. I don't know.
Probably not. It's probably German.
They try to make him like he was never really like an imposing bad guy. Like, he wasn't scary or anything, right? He was clever, and he knew how to manipulate. He's actually probably one of the few bad guys that sort of successfully cut through his plan, right? Like, him and Thanos are really the only ones in the entire MCU that actually saw their plan executed fully. Although he ended up in prison, I mean, he still made it. But they try to. I feel like they set
up with this character too, though, because remember in the comics, he is the one that starts the Thunderbolts too. He changes identities and becomes Citizen V and starts up a bunch of bad guys as the Thunderbolts to pose as heroes when all the heroes went missing.
Right.
So they could lean into that too, which there have been rumors that they'll do something like that coming up.
Yeah, it's hard to say where they're going to go, I guess. All I was getting at with this, I feel like they tried to set him up like more of a badass. Like, they show the like chessboard sort of close up, so like they're trying to make references to his intelligence and cleverness or whatever. And then the cell is all like dark, and you just see like part of his face. Where it's kind of like,
it's almost like a Hannibal Lecter kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right.
More evil mastermind than.
Yeah, he got lucky that he won anything in Civil War. It's kind of how, like, you know what I mean? Like, when he was in Civil War, he played them against each other. But I guess also maybe we can allude to the fact that they didn't give him a whole lot of screen time in Civil War either. It was a lot more of the heroes fighting each other. So, yeah, he was in the background pulling the strings. So maybe they're going to delve more into that here, where he is that guy. And I hope they do, because I'd like to, for like you said, for one of the few that actually like succeed in what they were trying to do, I'd like to see them play that out some more. And I know from still shots or whatever else that they are going to fully put him in the hood and everything in this, so it's going to be cool. At least from a geek standpoint, you know. The fact that he's just some human guy in like a fucking pink hoodie or pink ski mask or whatever the fuck he wears, but he's wearing it in one of the trailers or whatever, so it's cool. So yeah, so that's where we're at right now. We are getting ready to go talk to Zemo. We got anything else on this one? We're gonna wrap it up. Any theories? I think we're good, right?
Yeah, I think we're good.
I think we kind of established all the theories we were going to talk about earlier, so
yep.
We didn't save them to the end. We just fucking blew through them. All right, cool. Well, in that case, you guys let us know what you think of the episode, Falcon Winter Soldier 2, and what you're looking forward to in the next one. Hit us up at whatifgeeks.com. Like, subscribe, ring a bell, all that happy shit on YouTube that we barely touch anymore. Hit us up at whatifgeeks.com, whatifgeeks@gmail.com, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and all that happy shit. And we will talk to you soon. Good night, Tony.
Good night, Black Falcon.
Good night, Patriot.